When you have that one day where you see all the progress you made, it really...
You learn a lot.
You learn a lot, but you also realize that you're doing something right.
Hey guys, this is Elijah Vargas from the Goalsville Podcast. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Stephen Kalish. I went to school with Elijah in high school. I just recently graduated from Aurora University with 2 bachelor's degrees, one in political science, the other in criminal justice. I ran cross country and track for 7 years since I was a sophomore in high school, and I did that through college too. I was on my team, my school's team, and then I've worked a job at Julasco since I was 17 to help pay for school, and then now I'm currently employed at a school in Elgin, the School of Expressive Arts and Learning School District, where it is a school for kids with behavioral problems and special needs, and I'm a support specialist / co-teacher in a classroom of middle schoolers.
Damn, dude, that's dope.
Yeah.
Good for you, bro. So, how's your summer been going so far?
Summer's a lot better now that I don't have to worry about school. It's a lot easier. I'm having a little bit more foresight into my future. Like, what do I want to do with my career? And I'm actually thinking about going back to school for teaching because I think I've discovered that I like teaching and I want to go back to school for it. But that's another story. My summer's going fine so far. I'm trying to see as many people as I can. I'm trying to kind of wind down after school. School was a little bit stressful for me.
Yeah.
Especially this last semester. And I was dealing with a foot injury in February, and it kind of ruined my spring season. So I'm trying to get back into shape and fix my foot injury while I'm at it. That's pretty much it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, I just wanted to add a little bit. One of the benefits of my podcast is I get to talk to a lot of people, and I noticed like a lot less of this summer because I've been working and I haven't been able to like do a lot of episodes, but last summer I was able to see like, because I had just graduated, I got to see like everyone right before I left for school, and I thought that was so cool. But I just wanted to add that. I thought it was kind of cool. So what have you been doing this summer? I mean, I know you said that you had been working at that school, you said, right? So aside from that, what have you been doing?
A lot of it has been kind of organizing my life, and that sounds really weird and cliche, like getting your life together. Not that I didn't have a control over my life in general, but I'm kind of taking the next step. I'm trying to get involved in my local church a little bit more, so I'm going to be, if all goes as planned, I'm going to be a volunteer religious ed teacher, which is once a week, every 2 weeks, pretty soon, starting in the fall. So getting involved with the church a little bit more, one step at a time. Thinking about going to school, that's weighing a lot on my mind. Mostly seeing a lot of people. I'm reconnecting with my parents and my sister in a new way. I'm trying to reconnect with some cousins that I have in a new way. I actually went to a couple grad parties and I saw some people that I haven't before. We have a 4th of July festival in Bartlett, and I reconnected with some old friends that I hadn't seen since high school, and we caught up. Same thing I'm doing with Elijah now.
Yeah.
First talking about what we're doing in life. And then my grandfather just passed away recently in March, so I'm helping taking care of my grandmother, and that pretty much means just go over and spend time with her, or mow the lawn.
I'm sorry for your loss, by the way.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. So my family is dealing with that, and then I'm also learning how to teach, learning how to interact with kids, learning how to be more sociable, and getting myself into more healthy routines like physical fitness or better organization habits as well, keeping my stuff organized, trying to stay on top of things. and learning how to be an adult with medical insurance. Being recently graduated, you know, you gotta learn how to pay your car insurance. You gotta take insurance out of your job. I'm trying to learn how to do that. So
Yeah.
trying to learn how to be an adult. Trying to learn how to be independent.
Yeah, no, that's, dude, like some of that sounded like straight beautiful, how you're talking about how you're like reconnecting with relatives and like seeing people that you haven't seen in a while, or just straight up meeting new people. I think that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I live for those moments when you get to see someone again and you just talk with them for like maybe a couple minutes. The beautiful thing about working in a retail's, I work at Jewel-Osco,
Yeah.
and I'm on a floor, I'm stocking, and this is the only grocery store in our town. So everybody that lives by here goes to that.
That's facts, though.
goes to that store. So I've seen almost everybody that I know that I've ever seen in my life at that store at some point. And ever since graduation, when we didn't get to say our goodbyes, my class, we didn't get to say our goodbyes as much, because I was the class that graduated when everything first shut down. It's been really nice to have a job working there for the past 3 years where I get to see those people, and I get to kind of say my goodbyes, or I get to say my hellos, and I get to check in with people, and I kind of live for that. And then it's kind of weird because I was thinking about this the other day, like when they walk away and we say goodbye to each other, I sometimes think, is that the last time that I'm gonna ever talk to that person?
Oh my god.
in real life? And honestly, it would make some people sad, but it kind of makes me happy. I think to myself, well, I'm glad I saw that person then. I'm glad that I got to say a little bit to them, have that little closure, because you just take everyone that you can get.
Yeah, I love that, dude. Oh my gosh. I always think about that too. Like, last day of work, last day of school, I'm like, oh shoot, what if this person moves to another school next year? Or like, what if, like after graduation, what if I just never see this person? Yeah. Well, at least I got them on Instagram, but it's not the same, you know? Or at least I got them on Snapchat. I can snap them every day, but it's just not the same, you know?
It's not.
Because I was going to say, I think the last time I saw you was probably at like some track meet or some cross-country meet.
Yeah, I think it wasn't it last New Year's? Were you at?
Oh yeah.
It was last New Year's, because we do a New Year's party. No, we do a Christmas party every year. We do it sometime in December.
Yeah.
So that was the last time.
Yeah, you're
because
right.
Because we do value that.
Yeah.
In our group of like, it's everybody from like. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that high school
cool.
I love that high school program we have where like the oldest person is chef and he's the class of 2018, and then what's the youngest person that we probably invited to that party? It was probably the class of 2023. That's like 5 years. That's 5 years of legacy and relationship, and you don't know everybody on a personal level, but it's like a family get together.
Yeah,
and that's what
everyone can just like catch up and like what's new with you. Oh, and then like maybe you'll set something else up with somebody. You'll be like, yo, do you want to like go bowling or like hang out? And then we'll set up something for like this year. I know Jeets like invited us to like a 4th of July party, where we were doing like all type of stuff. So I thought that was cool, but especially like everyone goes to the Christmas thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was so dope. That was like my first year going. It's like an alumni thing. I thought it was so cool.
And it's like when you get to talk to those people, it's not awkward, it's not weird, you know. It's like no time has passed.
Yeah.
It really is, and that's what kind of warms my heart, is that it's not fake.
Yeah.
We're not just showing up to make an appearance like some politician.
Yeah, you're showing up because you want to. Like you want to see these people, and it's
cool.
cool.
We care.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, I like that too. I love it.
So I want to take a few steps back. We kind of got a little ahead of ourselves, but I love where this is going.
I'm a rambler.
I
really am.
Hey, I am too. Don't worry about it. I was asking you questions, and so I want to take a few steps back, get into some background, so people get to know who you are. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Bartlett, Illinois. I've lived here my whole life. I also kind of like to say I grew up in a little bit in Glendale Heights, because my grandmother and my aunt both lived there, and the routine for the first 15, 16 years of my life was you go to school, and then, well actually no, that's not true, because by the time I was in middle school I was I was coming home from school later and I just stayed home alone. But the first 12 years of my life, it was when you're not at school, mom and dad picked me up, and my sister, and dropped us off in Glendale Heights, either at my aunt or my grandma. They lived about 5 minutes apart from each other, so I was always at one or the other until about 5:30 at night when dad would pick us up. It was a very routine childhood. So I'm from the local area, DuPage County.
Yeah, okay. So, staying in your childhood, I want to ask, like, what types of things did you like to do when you were younger? Like, what activities, sports, did you like to do?
I think that if 10-year-old me saw me, then or got to know me, he would not recognize the person because I was not a social person at all. I was very content with the whole go to school, go to grandma and aunt or aunts after school, and just do my own thing. Where I was either reading a book, watching a movie, watching TV, playing with toys, doing normal kid things all the way up until I was like, even I would say 15, because I was doing that after. I really wasn't doing anything after school. I was not really involved in any sports or anything other than Park District Soccer. That is kind of a missing part of my life that I kind of forget about a lot because it didn't really mean so much to me. I tried t-ball when I was very young, and then I tried baseball and I really didn't like it. So I did soccer and I liked it. I was okay at it for public Park District. And I love the coaches. I love the people on the team. That's actually how I met Isaac.
Yeah.
I met Isaac because we played Park District Soccer together. And I also met Lucas Leal through that. I don't know if you know Lucas Leal.
Yeah, I know.
He's one of my best friends.
I know of him.
Yeah, you know of him. He's still one of my best friends to this day. But I was never really wholeheartedly committed to that. I would do it like 4 times a week and then a Saturday game. I liked it. It was something that got me out the door. It got me exercise and it gave me a little bit of focus. And it also helped me socially interact and helped me learn that. But it was nothing compared to later in life when I developed a lot better social skills. I started to value people more, and I started to get a little bit more confident in my athleticism.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that because I think when I was younger, I went to like a daycare, and those were like the only kids that I knew for a while, except for like my cousins, which don't really live all that close, right?
Yeah.
So those were the only kids that was my only social circle, and inside of that, like, I was friends with maybe like 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah.
And then going into like elementary school, I only knew those kids.
Yeah.
Because my neighborhood, I mean, we have. So I had my friend Roshan. He was on like the Christmas episode of this. He was the only kid on my block that I hung out with. I mean, Amber lives like on the other side of the block. She was like the only other kid aside from Roshan that would sometimes come and hang out with us. So for a long time, up until like 5th grade, I only hung out with like 2 or 3 people. That was like my only like close friends. And then moving into like middle school, it grew, and like I was friends with Isaac. I mean, I was friends with Isaac, but like our friendship grew from like 6th grade onward, I would say. So I can definitely relate where you're saying like you didn't really have like a big social circle. You didn't really, because I remember thinking when I was younger, I was like, how do these people know each other? Like, how do they know each other? They're not in the same class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once I got older, I realized I'm like, oh, they probably like play basketball outside.
Yeah.
Like they were on the same team or whatever. I just never understood that. And then like things like as you get older, you meet more people, you expand your circle, and you're like, oh, that's why.
Yeah. It's really. It just takes some people. Maybe it just takes people like us longer to come out of the shell or figure out how to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I used to be like really shy.
Yeah, me too.
So you had mentioned you were into soccer.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you played soccer through high school.
Freshman year
Am I
of high
correct?
school.
Okay,
Yes,
so
freshman
until
year of high school.
freshman year.
Yes.
And then that's when you made the switch to cross country.
Yes.
And then was that also track as well?
I did not do track my freshman year. I did track after I started cross country.
Okay. Okay. So, can you kind of explain like what led you to start doing cross country, and then like why you kept doing it?
Yeah, I can explain the exact story. So, and I'll tell this to my kids. So I was on soccer. I was on the JV2 team.
Can you pull this forward
Yeah.
a little bit?
No problem. So I was
Yeah.
I was on the JV2 team, so like the worst team, and I had fun. Those people were really cool, and I liked our coach. I think he's the head coach now. For the life of me, I can't remember his name, but I think my sister had him for AP English at one point, and
I don't remember.
I can't remember. It was I can't remember the teacher's name, but I really liked him, and he was a great guy, and everyone on the team was not great, and then. But I just really didn't click with it. I really probably wasn't gonna do it again, if I'm being real honest, because I wasn't good, and I knew I wasn't good deep down. But I remember it was spring, and it was gym class, and back then gyms changed a lot since I was a freshman.
Oh yeah.
So we used to do fitness testing. We used to do the mile. They used to make you do the mile. At least they made you go out to the track and walk or run a mile. And I remember I wanted to try, and I ran a mile in 6 minutes and 55 seconds. And I remember that.
That's really good.
And I remember that. And Sam Jennis, who is one of my best friends now, who I knew through elementary school, but I didn't really talk to him that much. But he was in that gym class, and he told me, he said, "Wow, that's pretty good for someone that doesn't run. You should join cross country." And so I said, all right, fine, I'll give it a shot. I'll do the summer camp. And I'm so grateful that I started in June, because it gave me something to do over the summer, and I really fell in love with the people. And I don't really think I liked the sport in the beginning, but what I really liked is the challenge of, I'm gonna try to keep up. And once I made it to trying to keep up on the easy days, and I gave it a wholehearted shot, and I can't ever remember hating it, but I do remember each day getting a little bit better, and I had that little satisfaction that I was doing something productive, I was getting better at it, and maybe I could actually amount to something good. And I was better than people that had been running longer than me, so I maybe had a little bit of talent that helped me along the way, but I kept doing it, and by the time we hit about September, I knew, it was halfway through the season, I knew that that's what I wanted to do throughout high school. I remember we finished out the season, and I was probably number like 15, 16 on our team, and only top 7 is varsity. I wasn't even top 7 fresh soft, because the high school divides teams into fresh soft, JV, and varsity. But I knew that I liked it because I really loved the people. And going back to that, like, it was because of what I love about my high school program, and I realized this in college, because in college, I run with a lot of people who in high school, they didn't have what we had. They didn't have a team and a coach that cared about everybody and loved everybody and really created a good culture. And we did that in college, and I can see the difference in athletes that were not good in high school and really became good in college on my team because of that culture. And I genuinely believe that I fell in love with the sport, and that I did a lot better because everybody was so nice to me, and I became a part of the culture that was already established, and so I really wanted to keep being a part of that.
Yeah. No, I like that too. I remember like my first practice was like a week before school started. My first run was like a 3 mile at Gerber, and it just happened to be like raining that day.
I remember that day.
That was a crazy day. But yeah, I remember. I think I also, because I had ran in middle school, I wasn't that good, but once I like entered high school, I was like, wow, I might actually kind of be good at this.
Yeah.
It's like looking at everybody else running, and I was doing fairly decent against them, and then like I looked at varsity, I was like, oh shoot, well I know my place now, you know. But it was all like love. Everybody was so nice. Like nobody was like I know in other sports, some people can be dicks, but you know like it's all competitive. Cross country, it's all no, but everybody's like overly nice. It's crazy.
I think
it's not like fake nice. It's like they're genuinely like they're nice.
Yeah, but and I think that it's really hard in this sport to not be nice, because you don't have that competition of I'm jealous of you that you're on varsity and I'm not. You don't have that coach favoritism, because you can't just objectively favor people. You put in the fastest runners, or you are the fastest runner. That the place in the race doesn't lie. It doesn't. It's the most pure. It's one of the most pure sports. That swimming, cycling, it's just you win the race, or you're better than the other person. You win the race. That's just the goal.
I love like individual sports like that. That's
Yeah.
why I've been picking up like fighting and stuff, because I think it's very similar in the fact like you can only hold yourself accountable. You put in all the work that you do before whatever event it is, and then if you lose, that's on you. If you win, that's on you.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about running, and that's also what I like about fighting. And I think you'd probably agree with that
I
too.
would definitely agree with that.
Comparing that to soccer, what like differences did you notice in like playing a team sport versus an individual sport like that?
I think the biggest problem is that, and I can't remember for the life of me, because I was younger, and I could not objectively give a good answer for that. But what I do remember is my dad I'll answer this to the best of my knowledge. My dad used to tell me that I was a little bit better than the rest of my team. He would say, don't you realize that your coach is putting you in more than other people? Don't you realize that your coach is putting you in the position that you like because you're good at it? And but then there were other times when my dad would get mad at me, like, why didn't you hustle? You didn't try today. And I would go back and forth, because I wouldn't really realize that. It was hard for me to understand how to play a sport. I think it didn't click with me how cool it would be to be on a team, how cool it would be. I didn't understand the value of teamwork. We were peewees. We were small.
Yeah.
You know, of course the goal is like you pass the ball, but
have
you
fun.
don't. But you never, and have fun. But I never understood the idea of synergy, and I never understood, and maybe that was a difference in the program, maybe that was a difference in the sport. I am not knocking my coaches at all. I'm not knocking my father. I'm not knocking my teammates at all. At the time, I think we were just too young. And so what I really found that I liked about running, that the biggest difference is I can objectively see what I'm good at. It's a lot more clear cut for my way of thinking. It's a lot better to work on my weaknesses, because they're a little bit more objective. You're either good in this event or you're not good in this event. And also it is a lot easier for me to look at teamwork in running versus other sports. And I know that that's hard for other people, because it's a lot more clear cut to see a team that has good synergy in basketball, soccer,
Yeah.
versus me, who the types of training we do and the types of racing we do, especially in college, was really developed around run with the people on your team that are at the same level as you, and push each other and stick with each other. And that kind of teamwork and synergy, where my coach explained it. There's no better bond than two people grinding a workout, whether it's running, swimming, weights, fighting. You're putting your body through hell for the sake of getting better, and both of you are pushing each other, and it creates a nice little bond with that person. So that's where I really learned the value of synergy, the value of teamwork, and I also learned how to be self-reflective on my weaknesses.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference that I could feel from both sports.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to get a good grasp of like you seeing the difference. So okay, I want to ask like a few other things about what it was like running in high school and everything. So throughout your high school career, if you can think of like one, like anything, like your favorite kind of story or memory from like cross country or track or whatever.
Wow, yeah, okay. I have I really hate to pick any one because a lot of them are I accomplished something, but someone else on my team that I'm close to had a really bad day. But if I have to answer the question, the proudest moment in retrospect that I remember feeling was it was pretty much my entire senior year season. I was coming in at number 5 for our team, and I was really competitive with my teammates, maybe even to the point where it was a little unhealthy. And since then, I've grown a lot as a person to keep it a lot more healthy. But I remember that I was really patting myself on the back because I moved up from 5 to number 2. Part of that was my hard work, but another part of it was because a lot of people on our team had a bad season, or they had bad races, or had an injury that took them out the rest of the season. So it's hard for me to say that that's my... If you ask me what I truly feel, that is truly what I feel is my proudest moment is I was able to have a great season. I was able to accomplish a lot. I was 20th in our region, which back then was pretty decent. I was a low 16-minute runner, which was pretty good for Bartlett. And I was just objectively in our top 5. I helped score every single meet. And then lastly, the thing that I really pat myself back on this season is I think I had fun. I had fun with my teammates, and I had fun with our goal a little bit of trying to win conference. And I didn't put my whole heart into it like maybe I should have, but I do remember that it was fun. If I had to pick one other one, I will never forget the first time that I broke 19 minutes in a 3 mile. No, I have to wait. Actually, I'm sorry. It was 17:30 in the 3 mile. I was flipping my stories there because it was junior year, and I ran in the JV race. So I didn't make varsity that year. I was 8, 9, 10, which again, top 7 is varsity. So 8, 9, 10 it was me and 2 other freshmen. So they were in the fresh soft race, and I was in the JV. So I was our number 1 runner for JV. And I remember I ran 17:30 on the Bartlett High School home course at Sunrise, which is not too shabby because it's not an easy course.
Yeah.
And I got 2nd place in the JV. And again, it was not so incredibly impressive, but it was something that my mom is proud of me for because she watched the race. It is something that my teammates were very happy for me of. And across the board, I had one of the better days compared to our fresh soft team and our varsity team. And I was just really, really, really proud of that. I was really, really proud of that day for myself.
17:30 is like... So what time did you get? Did you say? I don't...
17:30.
Oh, so you got exactly 17.
I got exactly 17:30. Or no, I think I got 17:35. 17:35 or 17:34. And the week before we were supposed to race, but it got canceled. So 2 weeks ago, I ran a race at probably the fastest course that you could ever run on, and I ran like 18:20. So in 2 weeks, I dropped 50 seconds, and I remember that day because it was not that I actually got 50 seconds faster, because physiologically, if you look at the way that your body develops, that's not really how it works. Is it takes a long time to drop 50 seconds. It takes a lot more than 2 weeks of work, especially since most aerobic fitness takes 2 weeks to change your body. So what changed was my mindset. Is I remember I was moping around all day because I wasn't in varsity, because I got to the conference meet and I wasn't good enough to be varsity. And so I was kind of moping around, and then one of the varsity guys came up to me. He was kind of sick of me. I don't even remember if you know him. His name is Alan Mikolek. And
No,
he kind
no.
of, so he was older than me. And he kind of just said, he was never a jerk. He was always nice to me, but he kind of just said, well, then just stop being bad at running. And I said, and you know what? It really was just that simple of, and from that day, that was like a new level of me trying. I had entered this sport and I had put in work, but I realized that day, even if I didn't admit it to myself, I realized subconsciously that there was a new level of trying that I accomplished that day, and that was a big step in my career. So those are the two proudest moments in my life.
Yeah.
In terms of high school running.
Yeah, that's sick though, because I swear, like, sometimes, I mean, obviously you weren't slow at that point, but sometimes people just need, like, that extra push, you know? Like, and people, like, are afraid of saying, like, oh, don't be a bad runner then, or whatever, stuff like that. And people get, like, uncomfortable saying, but at the same time, you need to hear stuff like that, you know what I mean? And that can be what makes you great in any sport, I think. Yeah,
100%, yeah. I've seen so many people with more talent and fitness than me, and I beat them in races because I just know I'm trying harder than them. And it's just because they haven't figured it out yet.
And that's...
it's a powerful thing, and that's also why I love this sport, is because it's all about... it doesn't matter what you do outside of the race, it matters what you do in the race.
Yeah, for sure.
So...
yeah, I think some of my best runs were like when I was super pissed off and I went in. Either I was pissed off or like I felt a little sick, and for whatever reason, when I feel sick and I have to go for a run, I like overcompensate because I'm like, oh shoot, I'm sick. I have to run faster so it doesn't look like I'm running slow because my stomach hurts or whatever. Then I overcompensate, and now I'm running like way faster than I was supposed to.
Oh yeah.
Running like 6-minute pace on like a road run, and people are like, what's wrong with that kid? I don't know.
Yeah, you tell me. It's okay, we all been there. We all go a little pace pushing on the road runs.
I love that. That was, dude, honestly, I enjoyed the road runs more than I did the races. And that's a hot take.
I know that's a hot take because a lot of people don't like racing because it hurts, because it's hard. And I've really grown to like racing a lot more in college. But there is nothing that beats just a nice easy jog.
Yeah, for sure.
A nice easy jog with a friend or something, and you're just running together.
Yeah,
or you're running alone with your
thoughts. You're just
thoughts.
talking shit.
Yeah.
So I want to ask this because this is an experience that you got to go through that I haven't, and I'd assume a lot of my listeners probably haven't. So what was it like graduating the COVID year?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a blank, kind of like, in life you have a lot of clear-cut flipping of a chapter.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like that for me, and it still doesn't. The whole senior year to high school to sophomore year of college start really feels kind of blurred. It was Friday, March 13th, and I'll never forget that day either. And it was, you remember the Jennis twins, Sam Jennis and Luke Jennis. Their lockers were right close to me, and it was Friday the 13th. Practice was canceled. School spring break was extended to 2 weeks.
I remember that.
because they wanted to push us out and see if the virus was going to die down. So we went home, and Sam says before we leave, take a look around this place. You'll never be a student here again. And I said, you're insane. Like, we'll be back in 2 weeks. And then we never went back. And then eventually, after spring break, they canceled the rest of school. They locked grades. I was a nerd and I didn't have anything better to do, so I did the schoolwork that was optional just to do it. And then it was just wake up, do whatever I wanted, get the schoolwork done, go for a run, because also, coincidentally, both my senior year track seasons were taken out by injury. So when the pandemic was, when we were getting close to graduation, I was getting back into running. So it would just be wake up, school, do whatever I want, run, and then I was very lonely. I was very agitated. But a silver lining of that is my sister and I got a lot closer because we didn't have anybody else. So we actually became very close, and through college, not seeing her a lot, I think that relationship stayed. I have a little bit of a semi-rocky relationship with my sister. We can get on each other's nerves a lot, and we both see a lot of flaws in each other that really upset us, that remind us of our mom and dad. You know, typical family. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So, but I really believe that my relationship with my sister was saved because of that. So if I have to pick one silver lining of that, it would be my sister, my sister's relationship with myself. But then we got to the summer and schoolwork stopped. We did a virtual graduation where they mailed us our robes and diplomas. I put it on in front of a lawn sign. And they went around and they had every senior's address. They put a little picket sign that said 2020 graduate. The school district did that. And I thought that was kind of stupid when I was 18, but in retrospect, that was really cool. And so I have a picture. My mom made me put on my gown, stand in front of the picture, put the hat on, and that's my grad photo. And it's just in front of our house. And honestly, that's really cool, because that's probably a lot more than other school districts got.
For sure.
Might not even gotten their robes or diplomas or anything.
Yeah.
So, or any recognition. One of my good friends gave a good speech. We had a live stream video of all the speeches that are supposed to happen, and then they had a photo of every student. You could submit a quote if you wanted, and they went through it like a slideshow. It was like a 2-hour slideshow. It was very cool. It was very good. But it didn't feel real, obviously. But I knew that high school was over. The worst part, like I said, is I didn't get to say goodbyes to the people that I knew I was never going to talk to again, because we just weren't that close. Unfortunately, I didn't get that closure. But and then through the summer, it just felt like a normal summer. Until college started. And then even when college started, it was just more online school, so it kind of just felt like high school continued.
Yeah.
Because my gen eds were not really difficult at all, if I'm being completely honest. So I kind of did high school 5 years. I kind of feel like I kind of did high school 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
Damn. That is tough though. Like, at that time, did you feel like you earned the graduation, or was it like, our grades stayed the same, so I didn't earn it? Did that ever like go through your mind, or was it?
No, I didn't really think about that. Like, are you talking about, did I earn do I deserve a ceremony?
No, like, I don't know. I'm just picturing, like, if I was in your shoes, I kind of feel like this isn't real. Like, how am I graduating right now? Like, it's not a normal graduation. Is what I mean.
Yeah, maybe I didn't feel that because we left the middle of March, so there was only 2 months left of school anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew that. Maybe I didn't feel that way because I was a good student. I had my grades locked in already. I was gonna pass.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even ruin my high school graduation if I wanted to. But there were people that really liked it. And I did not like it. I wanted to be back in school and see people, but I did not want to go to the ceremony. That was annoying. That was another silver lining. Because I did go to my sister's high school graduation. That was a normal graduation, and I was sitting there, and then afterwards, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, yeah, I'm okay with not going to this. This was kind of boring, and I would really feel pressure going up on stage and with the lighting and all the audience. That would be kind of a lot for me back then. I would be fine with it now, but for me back then, I wasn't the type of person that would like that at all or handle that well.
Yeah, no, I get that. When I graduated, I felt so, like, people kept asking me, like, are you excited to graduate? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? And I'm like, I was completely neutral. It didn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
I have, like, this weird thing that I don't get nervous about stuff, especially graduations, birthdays. Like, it's just the next step.
Yeah.
I've been in school 4 years. Next step, graduate. Next step, college. People asking me, like, are you excited for college? I was like, I mean, it's just college,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's just high school, but bigger, right?
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, so that was always my answer. I'm always kind of like neutral. I try to because if I do get excited or get nervous, I feel like either I'll be disappointed or I'll become a wreck if I'm too nervous.
Yeah,
Start freaking out. So if I'm neutral, then I'm just like always chill, mellow, and don't have to really worry about it. And then once I get there, I get there. You know.
that's a good way to look on life. You're not ruining for yourself, or you're not setting unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, and I think it is. You're kind of forced into that with being home for COVID. You kind of had to like sit back and watch everything happen. I mean, we all were, honestly. Like, I had to go through my sophomore year like that, and then junior year, I'm like, oh shoot. Here's everybody, but like 2 years later, look at them. They got long hair now and a beard. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I felt like I was actually. Everyone kind of gives me the sympathy, but I feel like me and my class should have been the luckiest ones because we got off on our senior year, so we probably missed the most fun, but in terms of long-term development, you don't really lose much missing second semester high school. There were people that I knew graduated early. They're no different than me. And going into college and having to live at home for a year, and you basically only have 3 years away at school versus 1. That first year being the year that you're not there, it's kind of just like a break year. It's kind of just like a fake year, and then when you're a sophomore, you get to be exposed to that, and you can do all that your sophomore year. You can do all that learning and growing before you're an upperclassman, and then you can get serious. So I really felt like I was blessed with that because, you know, like my dentist, I'll bring in my dentist that I'm gonna go see on Saturday. She had to graduate dental school. That was her last year. It was her clinical. She was doing it during COVID when no one was going to the dentist. Like they had to figure that out. They had to do like a module, or they also had to push it off a year because they just physically could not do a couple things that required procedures that required certifications that required real life experience. They could not graduate her. She had to wait, and so she was just in this limbo year. And then there's high schoolers that my sister tells me all the time. There were people that didn't get the middle school experience that they needed because they were online for those years, or they didn't get the freshman, sophomore, high school years to develop. And so they're immature as upperclassmen. They don't know how to take care of themselves. They're not independent. They're screenagers. It's not everybody, but it's some. Not a high percentage, but some. And I feel like the world really changed because of that. And this next generation is maybe will be a little less independent and forward thinking, and be a little bit maybe, but then there's others that will probably in that way be stronger because they'll be a lot more confident in themselves. They'll be a lot more narrow focused instead of my generation.
Yeah.
But I really feel like I had the least amount of risk to turn into something bad, I guess is what to say, because of given the circumstances. So I really feel for everybody else besides me, if I'm being completely honest. Every other class.
Yeah, and dude, I think hearing from your point of view, it completely changed my perspective, because thinking back, I always, like you said, I always like felt bad for you, because I'm like, oh shoot, he had to graduate during COVID, like that sucks. Like I felt so bad. But hearing back, I'm like, oh shoot, look at like the social effect that it had on the freshmen coming in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, those guys got hit worse.
Yeah.
Hit a lot worse. Like you were already mature at that point.
Pretty much.
But like the previous generations, like you're talking about, like the middle school age kids, they didn't get to experience like their freshman year, or they didn't get to experience like 8th grade.
It's a big socialization step.
Yeah.
School is not just for learning; it's about learning how to be social as well. It's another good thing about school. And you're right; they didn't get that. That's what I always thought about.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that perspective, because I never even like thought about it that way. So, okay, I want to get into moving from high school to college. So let's start with like running.
Easy.
In cross country. So how would you compare like your cross country team in high school to year 1 in college?
The first 2 years completely different. The first year kind of felt very similar because I was living at home, so I was only at practice a couple days a week. And then going to meets, I was the little freshman on the team, or one of the little freshmen on the team. I wasn't the only one, but I was not top of the team yet. We had about 13 boys on the team. I was maybe number 10. So yet again, I'm on the bottom half. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed kind of being the younger one, because having that pressure that I was putting on myself senior year of track, because I enjoyed it cross country, and then in track I was kind of thinking like, well, I'm not really good at track, I need to get better, and then I got hurt. So I was putting that pressure on myself, and then I also fell flat on my face because I like we talked about earlier, I had unrealistic expectations. I wasn't having fun with it anymore. But that was my own fault. Nothing against my teammates and coaches at all. I was just having that bad season. Everybody does. Everybody has it. So in college, I hurt myself in the fall, and it took me out for a long time. So a lot of the second semester was catch up. So I was trying to and I finally ran a 5K on the track at the end of the year, where my coach came up to me and said, yeah, that's probably right where you were when you came in before you got hurt. So I played all that catch up, which again, it's very metaphorical, because the freshman year of college was return to socialization, it was return to school, return to work, return to routine. So it was also return to peak fitness. So it was very symbolic in retrospect of like, you had this time off, you were angry, you were anxious. Now your life is getting back on track. You came out the other end, you have the right to take the next step. And also there was other personal things in my life that made it very hard that year, because I don't want to go into it, but I was kind of a jerk to a couple of my friends. And so I had to make a lot of amends that year. So it was yet another example of you work your way back to where you were before, and you mature a little bit. So going into sophomore year, I remember I moved into school. We were able to do everything normal again. No mask. We weren't required to wear masks as much. We didn't have to test as much. Everything got back on a normal meet schedule, a normal bus schedule, and also we were in class again. I had gotten my job that year, so I basically returned back to the normal school, running, work, and then your personal social life. And I was learning how to live on my own, and I was also learning how to deal with new types of people. The difference in college running versus high school running, a lot of it had to do with I was training more. And I really don't have much to say about college running, even though it's a big part of my college life, other than just learning how to do things differently, learning how to interact with people in a different way, learning how to listen, and learning how to grow as an individual. I did a lot of that over 4 years because I was very much a person that was resistant to change and very stuck in very routine ways. And I learned how to take a little bit more personal responsibility in my life with running, with making an income, with schoolwork a lot, and also socially being a lot less of a jerk, learning how to be more empathetic to others and not make certain jokes and comments to people, and also learning how to make people feel better when they are not okay. It's not enough to just tell them to be okay. Because when I was told just be better at running, that worked for me, but it doesn't work for everybody else. And that's also not the exact same scenario as your feelings are hurt and you're in a bad place mentally. So there was a lot of that I had to learn, and through that I learned a lot about myself, that I was not in a good place for a little bit of a long time, and I had to do some personal therapy as well, and had to ask some friends for some help on that. Sophomore year was the start to that, and I did it all the way through senior year. Sophomore year was kind of the start of being in a new environment and learning how to deal with new people and learning how to train differently, and be on a new team. But we had a problem with our team where there was a couple people that we had a little bit of friction on our men's team, because we had older guys that were not clicking with the team. The vibe that a new coach came in with my class that recruited us, and the old class was not really vibing that well with it, because we were taking things a lot more seriously than them, and that created this kind of friction. And eventually, when they all graduated, by the time I was a junior, it was a lot easier of a team to navigate and focus. So going to my junior year, do you want me to keep talking about this, or do you want to pivot?
Just you can go.
So going to my junior year, that was the first time I was in the top 5 for cross country, and also the first time when I was making top 10 lists for my school. My school is not that good of a program. We don't have that hard of a top 10 list, but it was a big accomplishment for me. We made probably the proudest moment of my college career were all of those moments that I'm most proud of were my junior year. We placed 3rd at our conference meet, which the year before we had 4th, and we were supposed to get 4th, but we tried to train our butts off. And we had some new talent come in our top 5, and we had some other people step up. We were able to get 3rd, which was a very proud moment for us. And then my track season, my under season was kind of lackluster, but I really reached some goals when I ran an outdoor 10K, and I ran 33:23, which was an unbelievably fast time for myself because I was putting limits on myself. I realized after that point that there was a lot more potential in me. Both of those times, I was valuable to my team, and I fell in love again with the sport. I fell in love with it in a new way. When I fell in love with it when I was in sophomore year, I fell in love with the culture, the idea of making yourself better. My junior year of high school, I fell in love with a new level of trying and succeeding. What I fell in love with my senior year was, you're at the point now where you're actually getting good, and I fell in love with that. Through 2 years of injury and getting back to where I was, because again, my sophomore year was also cut a little short because of injury, so I was kind of teetering at the same level. So my junior year of college, I was basically at almost the same level as I was in high school. Junior year, I really fell in love with the new team culture, a new, dare I even say, closer team culture than I had in high school, which is really hard to say. It was really hard for me to look in the mirror one day and think, wow, I think this group is way, not way closer, but a little closer than, and a little bit more like a family than what I had in high school. And I really love to say that because I was very blessed with that. And I was very blessed with great coaches. I love my coach, I absolutely do. And through that personal responsibility, I fell in love with the college running experience in a new way where I found yet again a new level of trying and a new level of accomplishment. I fell in love with the idea of taking it to the absolute next level where I'm throwing up after races and I'm putting my body on the line, competing with people that I shouldn't be beating. I really, and what I really fell in love with that made me love racing, and this was a big motivator my last 2 years when my stress was at an all-time high, my mental health was maybe, dare I say, even at the all-time low. I was able to get on the line and give it as much as my all as I could because I fell in love with a team that I call my family wanting me to push myself. I had a lot of track races and cross-country races where people were having bad days and they would come up to me and say, you really raced hard out there and that made me feel better. You got me excited to watch your race. Or I was hyped for my race because I watched you race. Or on the cross-country course, like you really took responsibility and you helped us score. We would not have been in this place in the meet without you. So that kind of personal responsibility and having meaning to my racing really helped me grow as a racer and fall in love with the sport yet again. And I realized that when every day I had an injury, every time that I've been injured and every time I deal with that, it always hurts more and more because the more I run, the more I fall in love with it. And so that's how I know I truly love it, is because every day that I'm hurt and not running, I'm thinking about when can I run next? I need to get running next.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
And I'm sad that my senior year, because I was hoping to improve my senior year. My cross country season was it wasn't bad, but it was kind of meh. I was really hoping to improve in track. I never got the chance. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have. But my life decided to take a new direction. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I do genuinely believe I'm in a better place for that. But it does suck that to get here, I couldn't have that season. And I'm playing catch up again. I'm playing catch up yet again. But I feel like I'm a really new person now. And running has always been this kind of like metaphor for my life, where it's always kind of parallel. When I'm doing good, I'm really happy with myself, and then when I'm doing bad, it's because I need a change or a change in my life. And I think that that's kind of a symbolic that the universe or God, whatever you believe in, kind of pulls with me. So it keeps me kind of on track of showing me what I need to do, showing me at what point are you in life.
I like that a lot. So now that we've talked about like a lot of running and stuff, in your cross country career and all that. Yeah. Before we get into like the other topics that I want to cover. Yeah. I want to go into like, I don't want to say like the academic side, but like you had mentioned that you were studying, was it law and criminal justice?
Political science and criminal justice.
Okay, political science and criminal justice. So I want to ask like, how did that go, and what were your goals at the time for both of those? Right. Okay. So I'll take you all the way back,
because to going into college, I chose this school because I wanted to run. It was cheap, and it had my major, which was at the time business administration. I wanted to do business like my dad did because I wasn't really that interested or invested in anything else, because yet again I grew a lot as a person in college. I realized what I like. So business admin and doing gen eds and a couple electives, to which some people say that electives are stupid, but I understand the value of them because it forces you to do something different, and then you realize you like it or you hate it. It helps you guide your life. I took an accounting class, I took a criminology class, and I took business classes along with my gen eds, and I realized very quickly that the only thing I liked was social science. And when I say only liked, I like learning about everything. I love learning, and I'm pretty decently good at being a quick study. But what I knew I wanted to focus on was social science, and yet again, I did not know internally what I was going to do, what I was going to be, but I knew that I should major in it. And I can definitively say now that that was the right choice. Freshman year, first semester, took a criminology class. Second semester, I was a criminal justice major. So I chose that one first. My dad always said I was good at politics. I should have been a political science major. I was good at thinking outside the box sometimes. So he said, maybe you should study political science. That was just one of his many recommendations, you know, like he was just trying to help me with figuring out my life. And
Yeah.
And it was good. It was a really good thing. I tried accounting because I really thought, me being the black and white thinking person I am, very organized, very black and white thinking, I was pretty decent in math. I was like, okay, fine, I'll be an accountant. I did not understand accounting. I was not good at it. I don't know how you're supposed to understand that. If I did it my way, which I would have the numbers correctly. It can't be that hard. But honestly, the class just turned me off from it, and I knew in my heart, this is not what I'm supposed to do. And so I chose criminal justice. My parents supported me, thank God, because not a lot of other parents probably would, because they don't even know what it is, because my parents didn't even know what it was. But I was very grateful that they did, because they just wanted me to get a bachelor's degree. That's all they wanted. And even then, if I never went to college, they would have supported me. But we were at the point where I was choosing college, like finish it out. So I did. And then junior year, I added a political science degree because the head of my political science department does the intro class, and yet again, he had me fall in love with political science. So I fell in love with social science. And then when I took the criminal justice classes, I took the political science classes. I finished out my electives, and then I turned away from business, and I really dived more into the social sciences. My senior year, first semester, was no major classes. It was philosophy, anthropology, psychology, and one other that I always forgot. I always forget this one. It was a history class. It was a history class. So I actually almost majored in, I almost minored in history if I could have fit it in. But I wasn't able to fit it in. I wanted to graduate on time. So all subjects I love. And I loved social studies as a kid. It was always my favorite. I always knew that. But I didn't know what you could do with that. And so through these majors, I learned you can do all these different things with the degree. And so I was comfortable learning about it because I knew I could graduate, get a job with it. That was good. Meanwhile, most of the people around me knew what they wanted to do. My college teammates, my friends from high school, they all knew what they wanted to do. Even my sister knows now what she wants to do. And I didn't. And that never scared me. It just kind of like made me shrug and say, I'll figure it out. But it did bother me in the back of my mind. By the time we got to junior year, by the end of junior year, I finished most of my degree. I had the capstone classes second semester senior year, so I had to take a bunch of electives first semester senior year. And I had taken a step back and I had thought about, why am I taking these classes? And I thought, well, because you like them and you like learning about them. But it was more than that, especially in the philosophy class and in the psychology class. I was learning things and reflecting on them, thinking about them, um, and it was really eye-opening. What I fell in love with academically, and again, I realized this in retrospect, is when I was a freshman, I realized that I wanted to learn why people are the way they were. So criminology really helped me fall in love with that. Then I really always liked government. I liked social studies. So through both of those degrees, I got to hear lots of opinions and different turning points in American history and different turning points in world thinking, different philosophies. I took a religion class as well. I liked getting the other perspectives. I liked learning about the world and the different cultures. And I'm no expert on it, and I don't have all these facts memorized. But what I do like to do in my own small way is learn about other people, and I like to learn about other things. And so I really fell in love with my first semester senior year with the philosophy class, especially, like just learning about all these different ways that people think, that people could think, that made people the way they are. And I was connecting all of these ideas to the way we are as a Western culture, and why people, I loved learning about why people were always fight so much, and why people hate each other all the time, because I never understood it. I loved playing devil's advocate in class. I loved being the quiet kid that would just say something intelligent sometimes. And I loved talking to my peers, and I really developed 3 skills in social science that made me a way better person. Number 1, I learned how to listen to other people, and not just hearing what they say, but actually listening to how they feel and what they're saying. Number 2, I learned how to teach myself things, how to be reflective and learn with the information that's given to me and critically think about it. And number 3, I learned that the more I learned, the more there was to learn, the less I knew. Like whatever that song lyric goes, like the more I see, the less I know. The more I learned, the more I realized I didn't know. And that was some people that scares you, but I just really loved it, because there's always something to learn, and there's always something new to learn about people. So that's my academic journey. And I graduated. I did my capstone classes, and we did some big presentations in my classes. I really hadn't done a presentation in a while where I had sat back and thought about it and cared, because I had just kind of gone through the motions. I put in effort, but this one was different. It wasn't just present the information, it was let's teach the class something new. So I got my first ever exposure to teaching. So I'm about to graduate college, and I'm told teach this to the class, which is a really good thing that you should be able to do. I don't disagree with this at all, and I loved it. I was kind of dreading it at first, because I had to do 2 different things for 2 different classes, one for the criminal justice class, one for the poli-sci class. And I can't remember which one I did first, but I remember doing it. I remember standing up there, and I remember having like the boring slides. I had something that would be enough to give me a B to pass. But I remember, I will never remember giving that presentation, because that was the first thing that I taught a class. And I remember it was about George Floyd. It was supposed to be a controversial topic that the teacher assigned me. It was about George Floyd, the pandemic, and what are the effects of it. And I can bring up the presentation because I can't remember what I said, but I remember how I felt. I gave the facts, but I spoke about things that the teacher didn't require me to do. I talked about the media. I talked about empathy. I talked about different things that connected. I talked about what I like to learn about. I gave the presentation wanting to share what I wanted to learn. And I did it in a way where my people skills have developed a lot better. My speaking has gotten a lot better. The words that I use, my vocabulary has expanded a lot more. I'm kind of choking on my words right now because like I didn't expect to pour out my life story today and have all this realization, but like I really in that moment giving that presentation, and now I do remember the George Floyd criminal justice class. That was the first one, and I remember now. It's all coming back to me because I really didn't think about some of this before. But I remember that was the first time where I realized, wow, I'm pretty good at this. I'm pretty good at, and that's where I fell in love with public speaking. I fell in love with people yet again because I had fallen in love with people my entire life. Like first my family, I loved family events. Then I loved every single friend that I had in high school. I loved my cross country team. I loved my college team. They all made me better. They all gave me a reason to get up and do things, and they all motivated me to be better because I was a competitive person and I wanted to be better than everybody else, but I also wanted to be on par with them. I wanted to be deserving of them. I wanted to be deserving of their love. And I still do that to this day. It makes me a better person. But some people hate public speaking, and I was up there like, man, this white guy is going to talk about George Floyd, and I'm just going to, there's like some black people in this class, like I'm going to piss someone off. I was so scared. And I remember thinking, let's just do it. Let's just embrace this challenge. And the biggest compliment that I got that day, no one said a word to me, but the biggest compliment I got was all those people that look at their screens during class, because that's a new thing now. Like people are just looking at their screens in class, doing whatever, half paying attention. I got people to look up from their screens and pay attention to me. That was one of the highest compliments that I could have ever paid, because they're not doing it to pretend. They're not faking it. The teacher was in front with his back faced to everybody else. My teacher was engaged, my peers were engaged, and I was encompassing a classroom of my peers where I didn't really talk to anybody that much. I was friendly with them, but I knew that they cared about what I was saying and the way that I was saying it, and that's where I fell in love with teaching. And that's where I rediscovered my love for, or I didn't rediscover it, but I really think that if I had to pick it, that's where I changed as a person. That was the last big thing that college taught me. That helped me develop my confidence in people skills. It helped me develop my confidence in my charm, and it helped me absolutely love teaching, public speaking, and bringing information to the world that I had tried to learn. And then I did it again in my poli-sci class, and then in our criminal justice class, we had mock interviews where a professional in the field would come in and interview us. So the chief police of a little town of Illinois called Matson, Illinois, he interviewed me in front of the whole class, and the whole class was grading you. I was the first one. I was the absolute first one out of this whole thing, and everyone went through this list, and the girl behind me, I showed up to class, and she said, "Are you nervous?" And I said, "Are you nervous? You have to go first." And I said, "I know, don't remind me." But I sat up there, and I yet again, I just said, my heart was racing like a mile a minute. I was probably at a 140 heart rate. I really probably was. And I thought, I'm just going to interview. My teacher had taught us interview skills, which that class, first off, was awesome because it didn't really teach me about criminal justice. It taught me like how to be an adult, which I really argued should be taught more in school. So that's really, like, shout out my teacher. Shout out Dr. Brandon Coy at Aurora University. Great teacher, but he had me do this, and there were actually students that did this eventually after me that were having like breakdowns. Like they would cry, they would choke, and I actually almost nailed it. I had great physical posture, I had great eye contact, I had great speaking, I had genuine honest answers, and that is, yet again, I was in a classroom of seniors in college where most people did great. I was not exceptionally better than anybody else, but it showed me that I had grown so much as a person in what I've learned, I learned how to learn, I learned how to speak, I learned how to love people, I learned how to love myself again, and I learned how to accept my flaws and turn my weaknesses into strengths. And those 3 projects were kind of the ultimate culmination of proof that I had become a better person. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. There's still a long ways to go. There always will be. I will be changing myself until the day I die. Slowly. I'm a quick study, slow learner is what I like to say. It really takes a long time to get something through my thick skull. And it takes a lot of practice, but eventually I got there. And just like running, it takes a long time to improve. But when you have that one day where you see all the progress you made, it really,
You learn a lot.
you learn a lot, but you also realize that you're doing something right.
Yeah. I want to say just listening to you for like, I mean we're almost at an hour 20 right now.
Wow, really?
But just like listening to you, you completely reminded me why I like love interviewing runners, because they have like this crazy self-analysis that like I don't think most people that I interview don't have. Because you're talking about how you learned this from this, learned that from that, and then you're going back and being like, oh, but through all of this, I wasn't learning until I reached this point. And you're going through all of this and you're explaining it, and I'm like, I think runners just have like a lot of time to self-reflect while they're running.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like you can agree with that, or if you've reached these like revelations as you're running, but I have noticed that like when I was interviewing G, when I was interviewing especially Kaveen, Chase and Isaac, all of them, also Braden as well, every time that I interview a runner, it's like it's point of view changing.
Yeah.
And they're always like really good episodes. I'm not saying that they're better than any other episode. I'm just saying like,
yeah, it's very unique. It's a unique experience.
Although like they might not seem like they're public speakers, they seem like they are.
Yeah.
Especially when you hear them like talk for a little bit.
There's a deep personal connection that you're right. A lot of the people that I've been on a cross country team with, there's a lot deeper of a self connection, even if they're not good at talking.
Yeah.
If they're talking to the right person, they can talk.
And I think a lot of us, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a runner right now, but a lot of runners like bottle a lot of stuff up, and then when they get the opportunity to like speak their mind, or like tell people like what's going on, like, they have a point of view that's probably one that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting half the stuff you said, but like I'm happy. I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
But hey, bro, thank you. I want to take a step away from. Let's go into my other questions about.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, you had mentioned that. I'm pretty sure you mentioned that you're Catholic and that you
Yes.
wanted to get farther into. Did you say you wanted to work?
Volunteer. Get involved.
Volunteer. Okay. That's what
Get
it was.
involved a little bit with my church. Like,
Okay.
Like a little bit.
Yeah. So this is a deep question. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
But why do you believe in God?
I love this question because I've never been asked this before, I don't think. And if I have, I've never given a sentence more than one. I've never given an answer more than one sentence. So and it's a question I've thought about a lot.
Go right ahead.
Because it's and this is a question that people that are non-religious in my life that I've seen kind of teeter the line of believing and then falling back not believing, and they're kind of trying to figure that out. I'm always very lucky that I always believed. I never knew exactly why. I think when I was younger, I was just told that this is the truth, and I just was told this is what you believe or should believe, and it stuck with me, and I never had a problem with it. And then as I got older, I still believed it, and I got involved myself. Like I started learning a little bit more. I started saying more prayers, memorizing more things. I went to Catholic school. Not Catholic school. I went to a Catholic confirmation program, which is a class every 2 weeks to prepare you to go through the 7 sacraments and teach you about your religion. It's from like 6th grade to 8th grade. I met some peers there, so I still remember all the Catholics that I was confirmed with in 8th grade when I was 14. And I always knew that most of them didn't believe. I always knew that most of my peers didn't believe. And quite frankly, a lot of my family doesn't believe. But I never had a problem with that. And I can't definitively point to one reason why. But I know that the first reason was because I was told it and I never thought any different because I never had a problem with it. Which is not maybe the best way to start out, but when you're an adolescent, I don't know how the best way to start is.
Yeah.
So when I got older, I started to have a little bit more, a slight more meditation, kind of self-reflection grow in me from the time that I was like 14 to like 18.
Especially with running.
Yes, so running a little bit too, because I was feeling this feeling of I want to have a purpose, I want to matter. I was starting to discover that a big drive of me is internally, I want to matter to the people I love, and I want to feel accomplished, and I'm very much a people pleaser, where I really seek external validation a lot, as well as internal validation, but external validation is very important to me, right or wrong. So as I grew as a person, I never really thought about it, but if I have to kind of make a connect the dots with this, it really started when I would just be alone and I would pray, because things would go wrong in my life as I got older, or I would want things, or I would thank God for good things, and I started to see that there were a bunch of things happening that any person could say, that's a coincidence. Any person could say, you're seeing things that aren't there. But me joining soccer, me being in the same gym class as probably the only person that would ever say these words to me wanting to try in the gym mile, it all aligned in this perfect day.
Like perfect scenario.
Perfect scenario, perfect mindset, perfect support from my parents, and having the perfect environment to be conditioned in, because I know plenty of people that they try running and they don't like it because of the environment, because of the sport. Like I've known that. Or people that stuck it out through high school, but they really didn't know why because they didn't like it. And I was fortunate enough that I had the right amount of days to find this sport. I was lucky that I went to a college with these specific teachers, having these specific classes that my counselor picked out, finding this major, and then eventually graduating college, finding my charm, finding my love of teaching. I now work in a school where I'm a co-teacher, and I'm really thinking about the next step in life for me is really, if I can afford it, go back to school. My school has a +1 master's program, to where I can become a teacher in 1 academic year, graduate with a master's,
That's
and I can be certified to teach a high school class. And I never knew that. I never knew that about myself. And I don't think that if I did, because if you go back in time 4 years and you say you're a teacher, go major in teaching, that takes out so many of my options. I would probably pick history, so I don't do anything in politics or criminal justice. I don't meet any of those people. I don't learn anything from those professors. I don't have this profound way of thinking that I do now because of those. Not profound, I'm not trying to brag, I'm not trying to boast, but I don't have I'm not the way I am without it, and I believe that this is one of the best versions of me. And then in my social life, there's so many different small things that I didn't plan for this, but it was canceled last minute. Or I chose to do this, but even though everyone told me otherwise, and it worked out better for me. Or I got lucky with this. I got lucky with this job I'm at right now. I got lucky with the classroom that I was assigned in. I got lucky with Elijah asking me to have this podcast. Like, what if we did this next week or last week? Do I talk about all these things, or do I say things differently because I'm learning about myself right now? So maybe this is the universe or everything happening for a reason, trying to get me to take a step back and reflect.
Yeah.
Or forcibly reflect. And I knew that was going to be it when I came here. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. But, and then also things like that. I know in my heart that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I know that this is going to lead to a very good thing, that my life is going to change today. I'm going to be better for this. And I have no reason to believe that. I have no reason to know that. I have no plan for it. But it always happens. And so I believe in God because I believe in that random chance is not random. I don't believe that anything is random because it can't possibly be, at least the way I perceive it. And I also believe that the things that I've asked for, if I haven't gotten it, I get something better. And I realize that down the road. I also like religion because it kind of gives people a set of moral codes to live by, other than the law.
Yeah, and I bet as someone that like loves people, when people have moral codes, I bet that like fits right into like your personality, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but that's definitely something I can see that's like right up your alley.
Yeah, because it also taught me to be a lot more tolerant and forgiving.
Yeah.
It taught me to accept others for who they are, because sometimes I don't feel like I'm accepted for maybe a certain way that I am. So I'm very, very tolerant to that, and it also helped me become very, very apologetic and sorry, and it helped me grow as a person. And it really, I believe in God because I feel like I have so much personal proof that throughout my whole life, the whole religion basically teaches you listen to God, you listen to what He's trying to tell you to do, and you follow His path, and you get what you want in life, you get what you're designed to be. And I really do believe that. I really do believe that I'm following the path at least somewhat decently, or His path. And so religiously, that's what I believe. I really believe that I'm a product of my connection with what I believe is Him. You can totally say to my face, and I will never get mad at someone that says this, because I am also a very objective person of, you have no evidence for this. There is no way that you can possibly know that. You could be totally in over your head and making this up. And you're right, I totally could. I could, because I have no way of proving that. But you also have no way of proving that I'm wrong.
Exactly.
And that's why it's not called knowing, it's called believing, because you'd have no reason to.
And the other thing is, you're way better off believing it than you aren't. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Humbly, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I do want to, I know, on this podcast, I don't know if you're aware, but, I think on my Max Olson episode, I had said that, Jeet Patel, who was on like a way previous episode, had decided to go to church for like the first time ever.
Yes.
And I just wanted to update everyone. He got baptized like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I just thought that was amazing, because he had told me that one of the reasons that like brought him to faith was this podcast, and I felt so honored, bro.
Really?
I felt so honored, because like us just sitting here, I think even just me and you, like it's a connection that you don't get to have.
Yeah.
A lot. And I think even people listening, like they might I don't know if they'll decide to go to church, but like that they might, I mean, I don't know, but if they see like these effects and a lot of the benefits, and if like we put forth evidence that we have, like you said, like objectively, and then like proof that we have, show how it affected our lives, then I think that's a greater good. And people can take what they want, but You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I think it helps expose people to a different way of thinking if you don't think like me and you. And I really don't knock any religion at all that doesn't that doesn't promote harm. Because like I said, I took a religion class, and what I learned about most religions is they're not really that different. They really all preach kind of the same thing. They just believe in a different deity with a different name, which is, there's nothing wrong with believing in something if it gives you peace, and there's nothing wrong with believing in something if it helps you be a better person. And if you're at the point in your life where you want to change, or if you're at the point in your life where you're reaffirming what you believe, either way, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You grow as a person with your religion. It really, spiritually, I think, is the part that was kind of lost in our generation, maybe in the past 20 years. And I really hope that people keep that, because I really do think it brings people a lot of peace.
Yeah. And I think now more than ever, like, more and more people are like choosing God and becoming like faithful, becoming Christians and all that. And especially like on social media, I don't know if you've seen, but there's like huge movements like have you seen The Chosen yet?
No, I've
So
not.
it's the show that is about, it's literally just Jesus, like up until his crucifixion, I think.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome show. So there's stuff like that, and then I see there's lots of like new Christian clothing brands that are like tap my shoulder if you need a prayer, or just people trying to spread the word, you know. And I think it's really cool that like I never thought that social media would have that kind of positive effect, because you see so much BS all over social media. But then, you know, like, I don't know if it's just because my like algorithm, my feed, my FYP is like that, but I see a lot of stuff that's just like, wow, I never thought like I'd see this, or I never thought I'd see like a Christian spin on, like, I see a lot of Christian rappers now. I'm like, wow, these guys aren't actually corny.
Yeah, it's a positive Christian push, and it's also a positive religious push, because I see that too about all religious faiths.
Yeah.
I see positive and negative about all of them.
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure.
And I think that that's very good. Is that the education on it is good, and I think the exposure about religion as well is very good.
Yeah, I would most definitely agree. So, okay. I'll ask like one more question. We're at 1:30.
Okay.
So have you, okay, this might be like a two-part kind of question. I'm not sure. Have you had any like experience of like the divine or anything like that? Or if you haven't, what evidence have you seen that is proof of the existence?
I have never had like a profound divine intervention experience that like sticks out in my brain. But I can talk about maybe like 3 or 4 couple small things. Number one, both my grandfathers have passed away. They're not alive anymore. I, again, could be making it up in my head, but most recently I really feel like they are over my shoulder watching me and guiding me. And sometimes I picture them there. And again, I could be making it up. But the day that my grandfather died a couple months ago, I woke up and my window was open because I was on spring break I was just coincidentally on spring break. Which, again, another coincidence, but well, that's neither here nor there. Another huge coincidence that he decides to go on that week. And then the funeral is that week, all while I'm home. So it doesn't interfere with my life at all. I never even thought about that. That's amazing. Whatever. So he decides to go that week because that's the one week that I didn't work because I requested off for spring break. So that was good. And so the morning that my dad woke me up before he went to work. I was sleeping in. He woke me up and said, Grandpa just passed away, whatever. It was nothing profound other than that. I said, really? I didn't really believe him at first, and then I went back to bed, and we kind of just, for the family kind of went on their way. You know, we're all grieving in our own way. But I woke up a couple hours later, and it was dead silent in the house. And I remember my window looks out to the backyard, and there's a little board in our deck. It's a wood deck, and there's a board that my grandfather replaced. It's the only piece that he replaced, if I remember correctly. The rest of the deck is original. He stained it, and he would take care of it, but that's the only different piece. And you can tell because it's a different color. And I just remember it squeaks sometimes. So I literally just woke up, and it was silent, and I heard that squeak. And I don't know if I was schizophrenic and I was hearing it. I don't know if it was a different squeak. I don't even know if it was the same board squeaking. But it didn't matter. In my mind, that was my grandfather giving me a message that I'm right here. I'm not dead. And I can't even say that it was this big poltergeist moment, because it never happened again. Nothing ever happened again. But I don't need it to happen again, because I believe
you got the message.
I get the message. Like, even if it was just a complete coincidence, that can't be a coincidence.
Oh my God.
It really can't. That's one of the reasons I believe. Another reason I believe is because I've had a lot of late nights with reflective thoughts. And there's a Beatles song that I promise this is related. I feel like I'm in an episode of How I Met Your Mother.
Go right ahead.
Talking about all these different things, but there's a song by the Beatles. It's called "Let It Be," and the song lyric goes, "When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comforts me. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be." When I was a teenager, I was driving home from work and I was listening to that song. It was dark outside, and I just heard that, and there was something that flipped in my mind that if this is real, then Mother Mary, Jesus, and God and the Holy Spirit are with me right now. And that gave me such a level of comfort, because, and I can't explain the feeling. I really can't. It was like, I can't explain why the leap in logic was made of, the religion tells you that they're with you, and there's no evidence for it, but you believe it. But there have been so many times in my life where I've been in a silent area, where I've been alone, or I've been in a bad mental health spot. And I really just feel this otherworldly presence. And I don't know if it's a defense mechanism. I don't know if my brain is making it up as a coping mechanism. But I truly believe that it is a feeling of a divine person, a divine deity saying, I'm with you, and you are not alone, and you will get through this. And I genuinely feel that. And the last thing is, I believe that people in my life have given me advice. That story about Sam Jen is telling me join cross country. And I'm blanking right now, but there's so many other small times in my life where it leads to a big change or a big revelation. Someone will just say a certain sentence, and it'll happen to be the right time of the day, when I'm in the right mindset, the right person, the right way of phrasing it, and it changes my whole worldview. And yes, that could also be a coincidence, but the way it works out for me in a positive way, in a fulfilling way, I can't ever say that that's not some kind of divine intervention. I believe it is God acting through people. Say this right now because it'll make him feel better. I don't have many other profound stories other than that.
That is more than enough Especially,
Yeah.
dude, that first one had me like. You saw
Yeah.
me like lean back. I was like.
Yeah. That's probably the strongest one.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of it makes me feel weird because I can say that to someone who believes, and me and you are on the same page.
Oh
we,
yeah,
we
for
believe.
sure.
But someone that doesn't believe,
They're like, it's a coincidence.
they could look at me and judge at me,
Yeah.
and totally easily write it off, and that's what I love about. That's kind of what I hate about faith is that there is no way to prove it, but that's also why I love my faith is because
Yeah.
I'm allowed to know. I really do genuinely believe I think I'm right,
Yeah.
and I have no way of proving it.
And for me, and
Yeah.
I guess for you, that's all we need. It's just that. Like, all we need is the faith. And then those little sprinkles on top, like that creaking of the board, is just, like, that cements it, you know? You're like, yes.
How have you ever had profound religious experience? I don't want to always talk about me. I'm gonna throw in this
well-
before we end this.
I would say, like, I've obviously had, like, experiences, like you said, where there's small coincidences here and there. I've explained this several times on this podcast. I had a dream where I went to hell,
Yeah. Wow.
and if you want it, I can show you like the clip. But brief synopsis was, I died
Mm-hmm.
in my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't wake up like most people do. Instead, I woke up in a dark like abyss.
Yeah.
And I turned around, there was bones all over the floor.
Mhm.
In the middle there was a throne,
Right.
and like, and the reason that like it hit me so hard was because this was not anything like I could possibly conjure up in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because if it was, I would probably see like my own version of the devil, which would be like, you know, like red with horns and whatever.
Yeah.
But in my dream, it was way like I turned around and I saw just, and it wasn't like a vision. I didn't see him. It was more of a felt his presence.
Yeah. Okay.
Knew he was there. Knew exactly who he was, exactly
Wow.
what it was, and that it was right there. And I felt like a sinister, like very evil. And I don't remember if I heard it laughing or whatever, but I just knew that whatever I do with my life, I have to turn everything around and I need to go back to God. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what it was.
Wow. Really.
And I didn't even have to see the devil, Satan. I don't even like saying his name.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to know, like, I felt his presence, and I think that's something it was very true to me. Like, I saw the other side. And I was like,
Wow.
and I think that's very much, people explain, like, I don't know if you've seen those near-death experiences,
I'm familiar with it.
but people explain that they have seen, when they die, they see, like, their relatives or past ancestors or whoever come to see them. They, like,
Yeah.
with Jesus.
Yeah.
And they describe Jesus as, like, they know it's him, it's a presence, it's just like light,
Yeah.
just like a bright light, and that's what Jesus is.
Yeah.
And then he's with all of the relatives, everybody that loved him, like, and then Jesus will say something like, your time has not yet come, and then they'll wake up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly very, very profound. Very.
Yeah, so I don't think mine was to that level, but feeling that kind of presence, and I don't even like that I saw that presence and not the other presence, you know?
Maybe.
I would have much rather have seen God in my dream, like,
But maybe that wasn't what you needed.
yeah, and I think you're right. And it definitely did push me in the right direction, and obviously I think it turned out for the better. So I think that's my main one. I don't think I've ever actually like analyzed it in this depth. I could be wrong. I've had very deep conversations before, so
That's alright.
especially with my friend, with a few of my friends. But yeah, for sure, I think analyzing that presence, I don't think I've ever done that before like this. So that's my main one, which, I mean, it can be debated by people because it is just a dream, but the presence that I felt like I was actually dead.
I know.
Felt like I was dead.
I wholeheartedly and 100% believe you, and I
Yeah.
know how you feel.
Okay.
I really do, because I felt that before, and so I can totally relate, and I believe you.
Yeah.
So it's scary.
Yeah.
It's
it
scary
is.
if you believe it.
It is. I do want to wrap this up, and I'd hate for the people that are listening to not hear that story that you just kind of like hinted at.
Okay, so it's really short, but it's not a dream and it's not an experience. It's more so just like you said. In my actual life, I will have alone time with my thoughts, and I will feel an evil, tempting presence. Not necessarily to do anything sinful, to not commit a sin, but I will feel that kind of evil presence, and I will feel sometimes a pull towards a certain temptation or a certain path, but other times I will just feel an evil presence wholeheartedly, and I wholeheartedly believe that it's evil and that it is the devil himself. I actually also don't like really saying his name, but I could be making it up, and non-believers will say I'm making it up, and that is totally fine. But it is what I believe, and that feeling is also one that keeps me in check. And I remember I went to confession a little bit ago, and I told the priest about this. I said, "Is there something wrong with me? Did I accidentally make a deal with the devil? Did I accidentally feed him? What is happening? Why do I feel this?" And he said, for a person that believes, it is not abnormal, and you definitely did not. He kind of tried to reassure me and say that I didn't, and I really appreciate that because it gave me a lot of peace.
Yeah.
But he said that that's not abnormal for someone that believes to feel, and that it is nothing to fear as long as you don't fear it.
And keep your faith.
And
right?
keep your faith, and keep not only, well, I wouldn't even say keep the faith, I would say keep on the correct
faith
path.
Yeah, correct.
The correct path
Okay.
that God wants you to do, like live the life that you're supposed to. It's not enough to just believe in God. You have to actually live the life that is appropriate, that what God wants you to do, and not the devil.
Yeah. And that is a wild story,
Yeah.
dude.
I've got a couple stories.
Yeah. Well, I want to add to that so bad, but I need to wrap this.
You
up.
can
I want to add to it so bad.
You could do a two-parter.
No,
Okay.
we're
done.
I don't think I'm gonna do a two-parter in a while. So
Okay.
unless I get you back on at some point, which I would be very excited for.
I'm
to be
coming
honest.
back. I might.
Yeah.
I'm coming back.
Yeah. So I want to do a quick recap of what we talked about today.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we started the intro was like your summer, a little bit about you, how you've been doing, and then growing up in Bartlett, then going into high school, then, like the COVID years, we talked a lot about running, obviously, and then college running, and then we talked about like what you were studying and how you kind of like fell in love with people and like social science and all that, and then you found you had an inspiration to start going down the path of like teaching and all of that, and then finally we finished with like the more religious talk, like God and faith and Christianity, Catholicism, which all of that is like stuff I love talking. I swear I can do a whole podcast on just that.
I love talking about
And
it.
honestly,
I love talking about it too. I'm glad that you brought that up because I do love talking about it too.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for getting on, because I think a lot of people can learn from what you've talked about, whether it's running, getting better in running, learning about yourself and having that self-analysis, that self-evaluation, realizing when you're wrong and when you're pushing yourself too hard, and when you need to like just sit back and reflect, like, oh, maybe I need to change this and maybe I need to change that, and then also get a good perspective on like Christianity and like your faith. People can learn from that for sure, and I think when people see people with like really strong faith, I think it's always a good thing. It always is, because people that don't have faith don't understand, or they might, but what I'm trying to say is like it's good for them to get that perspective is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's good.
So,
It's good to see good faith.
Yeah,
It's
for
good.
sure.
It's good to see good intentioned faith.
Of course. And so, for all of that, I want to say thank you for getting on this episode.
Dude, thank you for having me. Dude, I loved this, and I knew I was gonna love this. And fun fact, I was actually late today, so I'm sorry about that.
Hey man, it's like you said, it's the way it was supposed to happen. So
Yeah, this was the way it was supposed to happen, right, guys? Yeah. This was supposed to happen.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Goal Swell podcast. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to drop a like. And if you plan on listening to any future episodes, make sure to subscribe and click that notification button.